put me in the nursing building to be more accessible to the nursing students. So we work in conjunction with most any program, if it's academic program, if it's students involved, yes, we would be more than happy to talk with those students in what you said, pathways.
Yeah, guided pathways. I was
Guided
just wondering because it just seems like we always have these great resources like you guys, and sometimes they don't talk to each other, these different programs, and it seems like this would be a part of that. But
Exactly.
I was just curious, yeah, about
Exactly.
that.
In my time here, my tenure here so far, I've tried to connect with groups like yourself and the department heads and other different groups around campus, just so that they would know that we can pair with them. We want you all to know that we're here to assist. We want to be a part of whatever program is going on, because if the academics involved, where students are having difficulties, then academic coaching should be the first thought. Is like, okay, let's find someone that can help talk with these students, that can get these students to the right resources.
I think Jennifer knew about that. What do you want to tell us, Jennifer?
Hey, good morning, Mimi, and everyone. I am on the Guided Pathways team at the college. This team was just kicked off. It's part of that college, CCA, College America. And so, yeah, Complete College America. Thank you. And so there are several components to that. The one component that we're looking at as a team right now are Light Your Fire courses that we can use and identify to help with retention of students. And then the second thing we're going to be looking at is building out pathways where there's micro credentials, stackable credits or credentials, and then and that'll include even continuing ed credentials. And then later on this year, we are going to look at the academic advising model, which I think would include, and this is just my thought, academic tutoring and coaching, appreciative advising, all the different types of advising we do at the college. So this guided pathway initiative, Mimi, is a 4-year process. So we're just getting started. And I think that, to Carol's point, there's so many, and your point, there's so many good things going on around campus. At some point, they've got to integrate and come together. And I think that is the goal and the plan behind Guided Pathways.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And it just seems like and just not to, kind of throw out there, it seems like it would be a natural, Carol, I don't know, but like to get a few moments in some intro classes, especially something like COL 105. Are you available? Like if I wanted to, like in my intro to ethics class, if I wanted to patch you in just on a Zoom call for 5 minutes, is that something that?
Oh, yes, indeed. We do class visits. Yes.
Okay.
And, it would be my suggestion to all faculty, if they have intro classes, because I know that there's a lot of high school freshmen here in some of the intro classes. And those are the students who need us basically more than any other, because of the fact that they're just learning how to do college. So if you have intro classes, I mean, we'll come to any of your classes, but mainly intro classes. Please invite us to one of your class meeting times in the mornings or whatever, and let us know. We can come by the classes and visit with the students, let them know about our services and a few hints and that type of thing for how to succeed. By all means, please contact us for that, please.
Great.
We also can do class workshops, right? We can come to your class one day. If you want us to do a 30-minute workshop, we can do that on time management and study skills and goal setting. We can also do that too.
Great. Anybody questions? Any other questions for Carol? Questions? All right. Well, Carol, thanks so much for coming in. I think it's always, especially here at the beginning of the semester, always a great reminder of the excellent resource that you provide to students. And we appreciate you reaching out to us offer to speak. So thanks so much.
My
John,
pleasure.
can
my
I, I'm
pleasure.
sorry, thank you so much, Carol.
All right, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. Y'all have a wonderful new year.
You too.
You
All
too.
right.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you. John, can I make a suggestion? Because
Sure.
if I talk about, look, I know we're going to do, we have to acknowledge this, service excellence, but Nathan has to go, and if I talk a
Sure.
tiny bit about the AI team, and then he can present what he was doing. Can we do that first, just
Sure.
because he has to go?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much. So just talking about, we met in the AI committee meeting yesterday, and we're several things came up. For one thing, we're trying to find out examples of use of AI and ChatGPT across campus, and Tammy's going to talk to Candace Lewis and see what's going on over there, because sometimes we know what's going on in arts and sciences. I'm an English teacher, more than we know what's going on in other places. Let's see. Also, we were going to find out where our pledge is, not our pledge, our college statement, the Thursday before we left for break, but our meeting with Dr. Miller got canceled because that was approved and is supposed to be printed somewhere. And while a lot of the other changes were made, that wasn't, I can't find it anywhere. So when we meet with him this Thursday, we'll find out about that. And we also want to continue to talk about the, or further talk about Nathan's idea of having a team of people, volunteers who maybe who get a stipend or some sort of pay for reading and collecting and examining writing that's been cheated, that's cheating with AI, because it takes so much time and to figure it out, even though it's completely obvious to people who are reading it, especially if they've been reading a lot of writing. It's, in order to prove it, it takes a lot of time, as Nathan will show you. And I think maybe a way to approach that with him next time would be to say, let's have a test, you know, I mean, even if it's just one faculty member or two faculty members, see how much we get. And once people find out about it, we'll probably get more and more, you know, submissions or whatever. Because if people don't know about it, of course, then they don't do it. But that's, I think, what I would talk about with him, but I'll take suggestions from anyone. All right. Okay, that's then, let's see. I think that was it, except for
Maybe you know, and you know this from experience. I think what's persuasive with Dr. Miller is when you can present to him that other schools are doing similar things.
Thank
So
you.
if we can
Yes,
find,
very good point.
if we can find evidence that other schools are putting together these kind of committees, because it really is sort of specialized, this ability to look at, I mean, it's not just, I don't think anybody can just, I think it takes some research and some training. So it's going to be a little different animal than what we've experienced in the past. So it may be that we want to look outside to what other colleges are doing, so we can go and say, hey, you know, there's an example. We've got other technical colleges in the Southeast. We've got, you know, Clemson, wherever it happens to be, USC Upstate, they're putting these things together.
Absolutely,
I think
great
that's
idea.
persuasive to him. So
Yes, exactly. Know your audience. Nathan, do you have your hand up? Is that little white little hand your hand? What is that? That's so weird. Oh, it's my hand. Sorry. Okay. Also, oh, we're going to meet with Renee, our new dean, to discuss AI in the arts and sciences, at least, so that we can form some sort of solidarity, I think, around how we're treating it, what we're seeing, things like that in our whole division. And then I'm not sure if someone else is going to do it with me. I was hoping maybe George. I'm going to present at the Adjunct Summit for AI stuff for adjuncts, and so that make sure we continue that education. And then I want to say something about Michelle Rubino, but I'll do that later. Okay, I'll turn it over to Nathan.
Hey folks, this will be brief. Mimi asked me to share something that I had made up as in one of my cases for trying to detect the AI usage. So this is a chart I made up, and basically what I did is I started to get like dizzy and confused by comparing chat with a student submission for hours. And so I made up a chart with 2 columns. I was just like go sentence by sentence, comparing the 2 submissions. And of course, with chat, you can download like this query. So I've got a permanent record of where chat produced these answers. Anyway, and then I highlighted the similarities. It may be useful to you if you're doing one of these cases. It made it easier to see not just like exact kind of phrase repetition, but structural repetition. So interesting, you got the same intro to the first sentence to the second sentence, more or less, with 1 word variation. Oh, third sentence in the context of, I'm not actually even passing judgment on the student. I'm just saying it highlights a lot of similarities that I might otherwise have overlooked or been more difficult to document. So if that's helpful to you, like I said, this is one reason why it'd be nice to have other people do it for you, because I'm the only person who does this. And I know that the rest, many other people, I'm not the only person, but it's a real temptation to just take some other route and not address it, which of course undermines our institution. Thanks. That's all I got.
Mimi, I see your hand up.
Sorry. I noticed this in the chart. So you had ChatGPT, the free version, and then there was another column for the paid version, wasn't there? What was it? ChatGPT 2. In the chart you showed yesterday, you had 3.
Well, sometimes, yeah. So some of those I made a 3rd column because I would if you put the same prompt in for chat,
Yeah.
it's going to give you a slightly different version of the same answer if you do it 2 times in a row. So I'm looking for like it allows me to identify more patterns or similarities with chat from a student sample.
Right. So that's what I was trying to get. So he's putting in the query, the prompt, and then looking at similarities between how they answered and how chat answers, or whatever they're using, Grammarly Advanced or whatever it's called. That's one bit of evidence. Another bit of evidence is, and seems like it's nitpicking, but if you're getting these whole papers that are like this, it's not nitpicking. It's not even work. It's not student work. It's no one's idea. It's just words put together, so that are somehow getting accepted. And another thing, and although, you know, the importance or usefulness of AI detectors is questionable, if you have 1 or 2 that have said the thing is 90%, well, they say 1% human. They don't say how much. At least that's what Winston does, but others do different. I mean, you have even more evidence if you put it into an AI detector, which is super easy and takes 5 seconds. So then that's more evidence. And then the most important evidence, of course, is to look at another piece of writing that they did beforehand, and then what they did here. And you know, if they had a sample in the beginning, which they should, how is that different? And also ask them questions. So what do you mean by ambient light? You know, that they don't want to talk about that because they don't know, you know, what that, you know, they don't know what they said because they didn't say it. And then also, I think that with AI, with our division, with developmental, I'm not saying the words right, moving into curriculum courses now, there's going to be even more AI because people are going to be scrambling when they can't pass English 101, when it's too hard. So there's going to be even more of this, and that's very worrisome too. I guess that's all I want to say about that. Oh, good. Oh, Philip. Okay. Anything else about it? Thank you so much, Nathan, for showing us that.
Sure.
Can I say something real quick?
Yes, say something for.
So I think I know as in our department and kind of serving in an administrative capacity, I've had a lot of faculty members ask me, okay, I can prove it. I have a preponderance of evidence, to quote Nathan. Love that phrase. It's great. I use it with students. It really freaks them out in the way we want. What they want is guidance on how to proceed. What are the steps to take? And we don't have an official series of steps we've been given, but what I can share with y'all is what we sort of fine-tuned over the course of this past semester that seems to be very effective, and it's this. So you've got your preponderance of evidence. You let the student know that you have this, that you've got suspected AI misuse. You set up a Zoom meeting with them or face-to-face. I like Zoom because then it's recorded, but I teach online only, so it's always going to be Zoom. Make sure you have not only your evidence, but it really, really helps to have another person, a witness from your department or really any other faculty member present at that meeting. And then I start with, is there anything that you'd like to say to me? And then I just leave it open. And I don't start with accusations. I don't start with anything. I just say, all right, so you've heard from me. I'd like to hear from you. And then what they say is just, it's very illuminating. They'll say, well, I did use it, but only for this, or I only use it for a couple. And then you say, okay. And then you show them your preponderance of evidence. And then the witness just sits there, you know, silently. But having the extra person there completely, it's amazing. They don't try to argue. They don't try to fib or anything like that. Have it, which I found they do try to do if it's just you and the student. But if there's a third person there, it just changes the entire timbre and dynamic of the conversation and really speed things up. So you show them preponderance of evidence. You don't argue. You just say, okay, well, this is what I'm seeing. And that's exactly right, Nathan. You are supposed to have a witness for the AMRF, and I show them the AMRF as well. And here's what I'm putting in here, and here's what my recommendation is. So then the other question is, well, what are we supposed to recommend? In our conversation with Dr. Miller, because I brought that up to him, because we do have all those different choices, he said, well, it should be, you know, withdrawal from the class. I think what a lot of folks do though is, like, if it's the first infraction, they give them a 0 for the assignment and let them know that any further, you know, they still file the AMRF, and then any further infraction is going to result in withdrawal from the class. Usually though, by the time you're sitting down to have this conversation with them, there's been multiple assignments. There's been a, you know, they're not one-time things. And so when that happens, yeah, it's failure for withdrawal from the course. And I have not, doing it this way, I've not had any students contest that or appeal that, but you do have to be able to bring, to quote Nathan, a preponderance of evidence so that your department head can back you up and the dean can back you up. But this semester, in the multiple cases that I've either assisted with or done myself, I haven't had any pushback. So if that's helpful, that's what we've been doing. And I think it's good for kind of everybody to be on the same page and be consistent about how we're going to approach dealing with it when it does happen, because it will happen. All right, Mimi, your turn.
No, I just wanted to point out that what Liz says when she talks about having a witness or, you know, it doesn't have to be some specialist. It could be someone, just another person. So that's it. You don't have to worry about, oh, well, you know, who is it? It's just going to be another person in your department, just another person there. That's all. I just wanted to point that out. Oh, Nathan.
Yeah, I'm going to crowdsource a current issue I have. And actually, this is more for Liz. I'll just say that, yeah, yesterday I failed somebody for the whole class because, you know, I pulled like 3 samples of their work and where I could document it. But then the student admitted, yeah, I used chat for everything. And I said, well, you know, now I don't know which work is yours. So I mean, I failed him for it was sad. I mean, he had A and went to F. Anyway, but I'm curious, Liz, because I've got another Grammarly case where a student is saying, well, I use Grammarly for everything. It's actually not clear to me. It seems like there might be some chat usage too. But even if it's just Grammarly, like, you know, the paid level, which is doing generative AI, I think that this person did it not knowing that was they're using someone else's words and source. I don't enjoy failing people out. On the other hand, I don't know how to get, if I had no idea how much of her work or words was hers. So I don't know. Would you advise me in that situation? And by the way, are you giving WFs or are you giving just Fs when you do that?
So on the form, if it's, you know, if there's multiple infractions, depends on what point of the semester it is. I will, if it's toward the end, I will do a failure of the course. Chances are that, I mean, if for all the zeros they're going to get for the stuff, they're going to be failing anyway. So it all just kind of works out. If it's earlier, then I select the withdrawal and then it goes to the dean, and then I don't put anything after that. It's done on I believe it's done on your behalf. It has been for me. So, what'll happen is I'll turn it in and then I won't hear anything from anybody. And then all of a sudden the student will just be out. They'll just have been taken out. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess it was handled. But that all semester, I never heard back anytime I submitted the stuff, but I guess all's well that ends well.
So you do,
Nathan, sorry, go ahead.
you do withdrawal on first offense?
No, well, it's never happened where I've had a student with just one offense by the time
Yeah.
I'm talking to them about it. If
Right.
I did have that happen, I mean, if it were me, I would give them a 0 for that first one and with a stern, if it's early in the semester, that kind of thing. Saying like next one and file it anyway. What's that, Philip? CPT has a predefined policy stepwise. Well, we could use a copy of that for sure. But to answer your question, Nathan, about like, okay, what if they don't know they're doing it? That's where the academic integrity pledge at the beginning of the semester can be really helpful. And
Yeah.
I require my students to sign it as an assignment and put in a performance trigger for the first assignment where they have to have done that before it'll make the graded assignment visible to them. And so that's a nice thing to be able to pull up in the meeting when because they will say, oh, well, I used Grammarly to like rephrase it so it sounded more professional, whatever. I'm like, okay, well, you signed here saying that you knew you weren't allowed to do that. And then that's that on that. John?
Yeah, I was just, do y'all discern like, small assignments like weekly, excuse me, weekly homework assignments versus a more significant assignment? Is there a discerning of that in terms of the consequences? One's a 0, one might be failing the class. I mean, how are you dealing with that?
Well, for me, I mean, an assignment's it's all composition in my class. So
Okay.
if it was a discussion board, 0. If it's a paper, 0. I mean, I don't really discern. I don't know about you, Mimi.
Okay.
Or you,
Well, the
Nathan.
difference, I mean, it's a 0 and then I tell them to talk to me.
Mhm.
Or they're just gonna get the 0 and they probably will anyway, but, the consequence for them is just different because if the first thing is a 0 and it's a discussion board, it's not weighted as much, so that it's less off of their grade for them, but that's what I do too, Liz. I haven't failed anybody. Well, I mean, never mind that. So, yeah, so it's just different consequence for them.
Okay, we got a couple of hands up. Angela?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was on mute there. Am I still on mute? No.
No,
Okay, sorry. So for me, for the discussion questions, all of my discussion questions tell the students that I want them to discuss it in their own words. And if I notice that they've used quotes directly from the book or website, and most often I can tell, then I give them a warning and tell them the next time it will result in a 0 for the discussion question. I had a major paper and I think I mentioned this one time on this platform, I knew that every student had used Chegg to write that paper, or all of the papers sounded exactly alike. And at that point, I'm like, what do I do? Am I going to fail half the class but I just sent them all individual emails and told them that assignment wouldn't count and they had to have another assignment. And if it happened again that, then I would take the necessary actions. And I did have 2 students come to me and said, yeah, they did use Chegg, but, and then, so that made me going forward, put on the assignment that Google, Chegg, all of these other websites are not your friend for this project. I would highly recommend that you do not use those as sources. And one student even cited Chegg. I said, oh my goodness. Use Chegg as one of their references. So, but anyway.
I see Philip's hands up. Yeah, Philip?
Yeah, I wanted to address Liz's, when she was discussing if you find evidence across multiple assignments. No, I gave our basic policy, which is basically two strikes. I think it should be 3 based on the severity, but what we typically do is if it's a single instance whatever it is, it's a 0. If we catch them, and if an instructor finds it on the 4th discussion board of the semester, and then they go back and find it in the first 3, we don't treat it as 4 instances. We treat it as 1 incident. So when we report it to the dean, we report it to Brett Gaffney, we report it as 1 incident because we discovered it all at once. Now, the first offense would be 0 for all 4 discussion boards. And I've had to do that in a class before on 5 assignments consecutively because I discovered it on the 5th one. And I told the student, hey, I discovered it. You did it throughout, but I'm going to treat it as a single incident because it wasn't weighted enough in which they couldn't pass. The student ended up getting a C instead of an A, but they ended up graduating. So that's how we treat that. If you find it across a lot. Now, if you find it across a lot and you zero out 8 things and that ends up being an F, that's I don't forcibly tell the student I'm going to withdraw them on that. I'm like, you can keep working on the class, you can NP it, I don't care. The second offense though, second incident, that's separate. If I discover a second one, they're out of the class. They get a 0 for the class. There's no third step that we have currently. Also, I always send these not only to the dean, but to Brett, because a lot of times they may have other classes that this has occurred in. I will reach out to the other instructors that they have classes and tell them that an incident occurred. I don't give them the details. But that's, in our area, it's systemic. So typically if they're using it on one coding class, the 2 others are taking, they're probably doing the same thing. And so I will let the other instructors know, hey, this student has been caught cheating or this has been caught using ChatGPT. You may want to review your work if you are unsure. I don't tell them they have to, I just let them know. Because my issue with the college, the way we have it, is there is no way for me to know if a student that I have is in Nathan's class cheats. I don't know that he's cheated in that class, but typically cheaters don't cheat on a single class. It's going to be pretty much across the board or not at all. That's a lot of times what I've seen. So I would just like some kind of centralized method where even if we don't get to see it, the deans can easily access that so we can request seeing if this happened before. Because to be honest, multiple class offenses, they can be academically suspended. I've had Brett Gaffney investigate someone and find they cheated across 3 semesters on 5 classes, and they ended up suspending them for a semester. They couldn't take any classes. They had to come back a semester later. So that's, when we talk about AI and we talk about cheating and stuff, we really need to kind of ask, how do we find a cumulative listing so we catch repeat offenders? Because the one-offs typically do learn, but that's not what I've seen. Okay, I'm done.
I would make this observation too about consistency. This might get back to, I encourage students to use Grammarly. So I just wonder are we sending students mixed messages? Because if I'm telling them in my class, you should use Grammarly to make sure that does that send a confusing message? You can use it in this class, you can't use it in that class. And I'm just
John,
throwing this
there's a
out
big
there.
difference though between the Grammarly, the basic non-paid Grammarly, spell check, grammar check, that kind of a thing, versus the AI generative text. Now, I don't know if you're saying you're okay with them using the AI generative text, or if you're okay with them using the spell grammar check.
Well, the current version of Word that we have that we distribute also has a built-in grammar check. So grammar has never been an issue, but usually you can tell from the wording that AI has been used. And to be honest, Grammarly usually strips down a lot of the lengthy AI wording I have found. When I'll put something in ChatGPT and I'll say, okay, I'm going to use this, and then I'll move it over to Grammarly, I notice it will strip it down because it tends to be just a lot of fluff.
Agreed. So I do, John, how do we keep from sending mixed messages? Well, I mean, it depends on how much attention they're paying at the beginning of the course, because I do distinguish at the beginning, like in my orientation video for my online students, I say, listen, the unpaid Grammarly spell check, grammar check is really good. And I strongly suggest that you use it. However, there's a big difference between that and the generative text. That is not allowed. So I think maybe if you're clear about that, and then use the academic integrity policy, if we all use that consistently, that hopefully will help. But yeah, I can see your point about how a student would be like, you told me I should start using Grammarly because I'm struggling with possessive apostrophes.
Yeah.
And it wrote the entire paper for me. And I'm like, I guess
And that's usually what I actually suggest to students. I use it. I have Grammarly on that just
Yeah.
does the suggestions on,
same.
you know, but I am not as familiar. And again, this may be like, you know, for, you know, me being outside of this here, you know, and there may be many more people on this meeting as well that this just hasn't reared its head in the same way in our programs or in our departments. So Nathan.
Yeah, can I add, of course, I can totally imagine and have no qualms with people in other kinds of disciplines who want to even tell their students, well, you should use ChatGPT because, you know, it writes better than you. If that works for you and your class and your discipline, go for it. Like, no power, you know, I'm not here to police what anybody does, but if it's generative AI, that is a different source. And it seems like in any discipline, it must be cited. Otherwise, you're passing off somebody's work as your own. Unless, of course, there's some discipline specific reason why, no, I don't want you to do that in my class or whatever. But still, the default should be you are citing the source. That should be true across the board, I feel like. And so that seems like an important distinction. And I think this is another reason why every class must clearly articulate the unique expectations and what's permissible in their class, because it could vary by subject. But I think citing it as a source separates, that is the line of academic integrity.
Anybody else? Well, it sounds like, again, and I think it's going to be continue to be a challenge as we move forward. And again, it may be another great reason, Nathan, why this requires a bit more expertise for the people who are looking at it than just having it go through normal channels the way we've done it in the past, because it's definitely a different animal. So anything else on this topic before we let, I guess, Nathan go?
Oh, I'm sorry, John. Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
I forgot to talk about, to mention that Liz, we have Turnitin. No, what do we have? We have, what's our plagiarism detector?
SafeAssign.
That SafeAssign. So
It's useless.
Turnitin apparently has a better AI detection tool. I mean, at least it has an AI detection tool. Is that correct, Liz?
It does. So
Yes.
it does what SafeAssign has always done for us, in that it checks for the more traditional kind of plagiarism, but it also has an AI detection component to it as well. I've seen sort of mixed reviews on how effective it is, and much like SafeAssign did not replace our, critical thinking skills when it came to plagiarism detection. I mean, for those of us who've used SafeAssign for years, you know that like something could get flagged as being plagiarized when it's definitely not plagiarized, because SafeAssign didn't really understand context or quotation marks or citation or any of that kind of stuff, any of the very more nuanced aspects of research documentation. So it would flag students as being, but I mean, where it was helpful is if you got a really high percentage on something, then it would at least alert you to take a closer look yourself. And so I'm guessing Turnitin would offer a similar kind of assistance to us, in that it would flag things as like, you should probably take a closer look at this before moving on, and then we could catch things sooner and more consistently. But I don't think it would completely replace the need for our own homegrown expertise when it comes to that kind of thing.
No, definitely wouldn't take the place, but it might be a better tool than the one we have. And so that's why we were going to maybe bring it up to Dr.
It-
Miller, or at least talk
What,
about a
what would be
pilot.
interesting to know is what the contract obligations are for Safe Assign, how long we are locked in for with them. Because I've been saying for years that Safe Assign is not, whatever money we're paying for it, it's not worth it. And they're like, well, we bought it already, so it's bought. But the question is, okay, well, that was years ago. So have we renewed contracts with that? Like, can we get out of a contract with them? And then can we at least have some of us pilot, turn it in as an option and just see how effective it is and whether it's worth the money. So we can make a proposal.
Yes.
That
That's
may
what I
be
wanted to say.
something, that might be something for us to add to our things to ask Dr. Miller next week.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Probably not. Or could find out for us. Any other questions, comments, concerns on this topic? All right. Well, let's move back. Are we good? Moving back onto the, and I was happy to adjust theirs to allow Nathan to come, and I appreciate Nathan's contribution, and thank you. So to get back to the agenda and just check, I know we've been gone. Any examples of service excellence anybody would like to recognize somebody? Mimi, I see a hand up there.
Yeah, I'd like to recognize a couple people. One is Michelle Rubino, because the LibGuide that she has in the library for AI is growing quite robust and is very good, and it's really awesome. And we sometimes forget that that is pretty much the most important research source we can use, and she's doing a fantastic job with that. I need to go back and read all the newest stuff that's in there. So Michelle Rubino, and I also want to recognize Reginald Brewster, Dr. Brewster, because he is a great advisor for student advisor. And whenever I have a problem or a question, since he's a couple offices down, he not only helps me, but he stays for a long time and he stops whatever he's doing. And I feel very indebted to him if I have a question about any advising question. And who else? Oh, one other thing, the AI committee itself, because, you know, it's like we all are just good listeners and thoughtful, and we show up, right? So showing up is like, as I tell my students, if you show up and do all the work, you probably might pass. Like that's just be there. And you know, and they're just a great team, and we all list the names later when I want to go into all that right now. So that's all I have.
All right. Anybody else like to recognize somebody for service excellence? All right. Hearing no more, let's move on. The president's report. Not a lot has happened since in the December since we've been on break.
John,
yes.
John, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm
Go
having
ahead.
problems with my computer, and it's very delayed today. And I wanted to
That's all right.
recognize David Bishop in the IT department. Right before the Christmas break, I was having issues at home, and he was super amazing. He helped me greatly. If you notice my cam is, I think, a little slow. I don't know what's going on with this computer today, but if we could recognize David Bishop, he was fantastic.
David Bishop. Great. Thank you.
Thank
All right. Anybody else? Just make sure. I feel like I've had a little connectivity issues as well this morning. So I don't think you're the only one, Chris. Okay. Well, moving on. Again, President's report. There's not been much that's happened. We did not have a leadership meeting in December. We decided, since it was so late, to sort of defer to the new year. So we will be meeting with Dr. Miller next Thursday. So if anybody has any concerns, policy concerns, so forth, for Dr. Miller, I know we just noted one thing that we can ask him about the Safe Assign. But if there's things like that you have questions about, you know, how long are we locked in with this, that, or the other thing, honor lock, whatever, all, you know, different things that have come up over the years. Those are, you know, he's a source, and he can tell us we're locked in, we're not locked in, it's too expensive, whatever. He's usually pretty forthcoming about the reasons we can or cannot do some things. So And then the other thing, and I think we'll wait till new business from the president's report, is we do need to, I know it's the first thing, but we need to start thinking about our 2024, 2025 faculty senate elections and getting those things into place. It's coming up quickly, and we'll hold off on that until new business. So now on to committee reports. I think AI and academic misconduct, have we touched on everything we need to there, Mimi?
Yeah, I went over everything and then I brought up the things I forgot at the end. So I'm done for that.
Okay.
I'll never be done with that, but I'm done for now.
Okay.
Sorry, so can I just make a really quick plug for
Sure.
some updated resources from the library?
Yes.
Sure.
I wanted to give Nathan and everybody time to discuss faculty pertinent items, but the AI guide has been updated with a new link that we've received called AI Literacy, and it provides guidelines on how to start a discussion about AI with your students, suggestions for assignment design and academic integrity frameworks, as well as suggestions for activities that incorporate AI. So I am going to plop that link in the chat right now for everybody. If my computer would cooperate, please, friend. So that link is in the chat now. That is on the AI guide, and it is also on the guide that we have for information about our information literacy modules, which have been updated to include relevant discussion of how AI relates to certain topics. So our evaluating information, why visual literacy matters, academic integrity, choosing and using keywords, and also developing a research focus tutorials have been updated to include AI relevant information. I am still waiting to hear back from a colleague about whether we have updated links for those. As soon as I have heard back from them, John and Mimi, I will email those links to you so you can disseminate them to everyone. But we are getting as on top of this as we can. All of our database providers are as well. And as I have more news, I will share it with y'all. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And now, adjunct support.
No updates as of this month. Not yet. We haven't
Okay.
met yet.
And safety committee, anything new with safety?
No updates this month.
Okay. Course inclusivity and accessibility.
No, sorry, typing stuff in. No updates this month. We're gonna meet in the coming weeks.
Okay. And there's no updates for remote work. And then finally, and I have to add this, the Concord, have we assembled our syllabus group?
No,
syllabus
not
group?
really. But I know
Okay.
that Philip wants to, right? Philip, do you want to head that up? I want to be on it, and some other
Yeah,
people
I
did too.
will. I've been on concourse all week because they rolled out changes
Yep.
late. I was having to make a bunch of changes anyway.
I'm still doing it too.
Okay.
But yeah, so just email me and we'll figure out whatever we're gonna meet for that. So
Okay.
it's been crazy this last couple weeks, obviously. Thank you.
Yeah, and like I said, we have a receptive audience in Dr. Miller, who I think he brought it up to us that he thinks that the syllabi are too long, and I think what he'd like to see is the syllabi be more course specific, and for us to relocate a lot of the things like that, having to do with policy issues that are not course specific, maybe migrate to someplace that links in Blackboard, something like that. So again, like I said, I think we have a receptive audience for that. Anything I'm missing? Am I missing any?
LibGuide
Yep.
subcommittee, any updates?
Go
No
ahead.
updates as of right now.
Okay, very good. And any old business we need to tend to?
I have a quick question.
Sure.
So the last meeting, we all discussed the new rollout of the authenticator. Everybody knows what I'm talking about? Yes.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
I don't know if the gentleman is on here that was with us. I forget his name. I'm so sorry. From
Sure.
IT. But I just had a quick
Who's-
question. Some of the faculty
George?
members asked why some of us have to go through authentication every time we log into GTC, and some of us are still letting in without it. So I didn't know. I don't have a good answer, and maybe somebody from IT or maybe one of you guys have an answer so I can take back to them. Not sure.
I agree. And I usually have to do it 3 times.
Me too.
Yeah, like not, and I'm not taking a long time. I'm doing it right that second, and then it comes back and I have to do it again. Does that happen to other people? Because I'm like, this probably, of course, it's just happening to me. No, does not. It does. Because I know quite a few people too that also do not even have to do anything. They can't do anything for some reason.
Well, that's why they were asking me, why does
yes,
this
Susan.
person not have to do it, but then we have to do it 3 times and we have problems. And I'm just worried, me personally, like in class, I use the computers in a classroom and, looking at your phone, the students think you're not, paying attention, and then you're having problems, you're getting frustrated. But then my partner goes and logs in and she doesn't have to do anything. So I don't know. They were just asking me to ask whoever, I forget the gentleman's name, of why everybody doesn't have to do it, I guess.
George,
So,
I think it was George, right? George Abraham.
Yes, I'm
George
sorry.
Abraham.
That's
Yeah. I don't think he's here today.
One thing I went to, they offered those IT support things on Tuesday. And so I'm one of the people that every time I log in, nothing ever comes up. And so I was like, I'm sure I've done something wrong. I took my computer over there and he said that, I can't remember the man that is over there, but he said that they're eventually going to flip the switch, and it will, that right now it is kind of, some people get it, some people don't, but that there will be a day that everyone will have to do it. And
okay.
I do think if you have any questions as to whether you're properly set up for it, if you're a person like me and you don't get the authentication every single time, I get it once in a while, but not every single time. I think it was worth my peace of mind to get them to look at it and make sure that I was set up properly, because and my fear is that I'm going to go into the classroom on Monday and
Right.
not have
Exactly. Mine
anything.
too. Yeah, me too. Okay, I'll let them know that. I personally can get in. Sometimes it takes me a time or two, but they were just asking me in our meeting yesterday. I said, well, I'll ask everybody, on Senate and see what they have to say about it. So, because I thought the hard stop was this week from the emails that we all received. So that's why everybody was a little confused. But if there's still people hit or miss, I'll just let them know we're not the only ones.
Yeah.
Well, so my department head doesn't have a cell phone, so of course he had to go get one of those fobs. And I was asking him yesterday if he has to, how does that work? Does that work better than having the phone? Because I thought I would go get me a fob. And the only reason I considered it is because one day I left home without my phone. And I live 45 minutes from work. And depending on how far I get, even before we had to do the before we had to do all this, depending on how far I get, I would go back and get it. Or when I get to work, just tell my family, hey, I left my phone. If you need me, call me here. But I had to go back and get it because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to work. And so that's the reason I was going to go get a fob. And I thought maybe it would be a little bit easier as well, but I don't know.
And then they really are discouraging that, because I did the same thing and I was like, okay, should I just leave or should I come back? Should I come? So annoying. It was the very first day we were back. I forgot my phone. And anyway, so I put a sticker on my car to remind myself, so unprofessional. But if I forget that one little thing, it's like,
you can't
we're
work.
totally screwed up. So I
And I've
understand.
heard that the fobs are super expensive and they're not encouraging us to go and get them. Because I've had faculty members ask me, that older faculty members that don't use the phone like some of us do, say that I don't want a phone. They have limited fobs. Yeah, that's what I heard too. So I don't know what the stance on that is.
Philip says they have limited fobs.
Probably because they're super expensive.
Yeah, exactly. And then if I wonder how old you have to be considered old if you forget your phone the first day of school.
I should say more seasoned. I'm sorry if I offended anybody.
You totally offended me.
Well, I'll speak for, I think mine is working the way it's supposed to. I have to sign in once a day. And I'll even notice if I signed in at noon yesterday and I try to and I get on at 9 o'clock in the morning the next day, it will not make me sign in, but like if I, some point after noon, I'll have to go and go through the authenticator again, which is the way, my understanding is that's the way that it's supposed to work. Eventually it'll be a 24-hour, you sign in once every 24 hours. So at
Wow.
least for some people, it's working the way it's supposed to.
They make
I'm
me do
signing
it
in about
every
5
single time. They make me do it every single time, whether I'm
Every s-
home here, every single time. And if it doesn't work, I have to redo it. And I push a wrong button and I'm sitting here for 10 minutes trying to get in.
Or
Me
if
too.
you, for me, if I'm not in Blackboard for 15, 20 minutes because I'm over here working on PowerPoint and I go back, then I do it 5 to 6 times a day.
Yeah,
When
me too.
my colleagues hear me go, oh, they know that I'm putting in that number again.
Yeah. Phil, did you have an observation?
Yeah, let me give you the IT perspective since that's what I do. It's not just authentication on the Greenville Tech site. It has to be stored on your browser. So if your browser blows out its cookies and blows out its licensing or certificates, that's why you'll get it every single time. And different browsers act different ways. Chrome, Edge, Safari. So your operating system is going to make that determination. And your browser is too. So the defaults on our laptops at work are supposed to be Chrome. Chrome holds a 24-hour cert. So that's why you wouldn't need it again at 10 or 11, but at noon, it would hit that limit. And eventually you're just going to slide that down to the point where it'll renew at the end of the day, and then you'll have a skip over. I have more logins at home, but I have more browsers that I wipe the contents when I exit the browser. So it could vary. And I did put in the comments that I'm on the ITGC subcommittee for technology with Tim Tennis and George and a few others. And I'll ask him when they're going to do a hard rollout. I know they said they were going to stagger it. Otherwise, they would just get an avalanche of people all at once. So that's just for the number of, warm bodies they have in OIT that can actually handle helping people convert. I asked George on Tuesday for an updated list of people who hadn't done multi-factor setup because I wanted to know my department, and then he sent it out to all the department heads midday. So all the department heads should have a list of people in their area who have not at least set it up. Now, when it triggers after you set it up, I'll ask next week, but my guess is at some point in the next few weeks, they are going to put that trigger where everyone gets it. But my guess is they were too afraid to do it the first week of school.
Yeah.
But
Or at the end of the last, when we're getting grades in. Yeah.
I set up mine in November when they first announced it, and I started having mine do it exam week. So it may be when you did it may actually determine when you start seeing it. So if you did it later, maybe it'll show later.
Yeah. And just a kind of as a reminder, this is not something that the college just did, capriciously. It was going to cost, according to Dr. Miller, would have cost literally thousands and thousands of dollars, and we may not have had coverage for certain types of data breaches, which would have not been good. If y'all recall, I think it was the beginning of the 2021 academic year, we had that breach that was quite an issue for 3 or 4 days at the beginning of 2021. And colleges have been uniquely a target for some reason, have been a target of folks who are trying to, I guess, hold data hostage and so forth. So that's where this is coming from. And I don't think it's going away. So we'll probably have to live with it, deal with it. So anything else for old business, that things that we were discussing from our December meeting? Yep, Mimi.
I just want, sorry, and I'm sure Philip knows this too, but Reggie, I don't know if you're here or if you're like walking around the house or walking around the school, but he was pointing out the Microsoft AI link that they're bringing in. Does anybody know about that? Isn't that right, Reggie? Wherever you are. Do you know about it? Philip, you do not.
No,
Reggie.
I haven't heard about that.
Okay, well, it's supposed to, like, you can click on it. I don't know. Reggie gave me the information yesterday and then I went home. Yes, yes, I think so, Stephen. I don't know where Reggie is. All right, so we'll get back to that another time when I know something. Sorry, thank you.
All right. Well, on to new business. I just want to make sure that we are on target for our elections, and that process probably needs to start now. So, and I have, let me see if I can share this. In the president's report, I actually pulled some of the bylaws to is sort of a guide, so we can all be on the same page in terms of the time frame. See if I can pull it up. Well, can y'all see faculty senate elections? Yes. Yeah. Okay. From the president's report. So the timeline, as you can see here, we've got the election needs to be no later than the last day of March. So in January, or here in January, the election committee will acquire the total number of full-time faculty per school and calculate the percentage of available seats. So that is something that we're going to need to do. I know that we have, and Liz helped me out, I was looking back to, Ashlyn Blair, I understand, is volunteered to assist with that. I'm not sure if
Yeah, I
there's
went to her
anybody else.
office and I begged her to do it, and she
Okay.
was a good
Not
sport
sure if
and
anybody
agreed.
else.
Ashlyn, you still game?
Absolutely, that's fun.
Okay,
You're the
thanks, Ashlyn.
best.
And if anybody would like to, let us know if anybody else, that might be a job that she could use some help with, more than a one person. And Ashlyn, if you need assistance, I'd be happy to help out with that as well. Just make sure that we're on target. But this sort of lays out by the first Friday of February elections, you have to solicit nominees to fill the upcoming vacancies. So we're going to have to determine where the vacancies are. It's 2-year terms. So, it may be that and I'm going to suggest this, Mimi, Liz, that maybe we all meet with Ashlyn to make sure that everybody's on the same page. Would y'all be good with that?
Of course. And
Okay.
we have to, the thing that always, the biggest things are sending out the Survey Monkey to get people to run or be available to run. And also, what are the other things? I'm totally blanking right now. I'll think of it in a second.
Yeah, but just so we can, and the reason I pulled this was just kind of make sure that we're focused on the timeline. By the end of February, we've got to be distributing the self-nomination forms. So we can do this election by the end of March. I know last year we were a little behind in this, and I definitely want to make sure that we're on time with doing our elections this year. And then ultimately, and then it'll be the I didn't include that's for the faculty senators, the leadership team, the president, vice president, and secretary positions. Those are elected at the May meeting. So at some point we'll revisit, but you have to be elected, obviously, to be a faculty member or a faculty senate member in general, and then you can decide if you want to pursue one of those leadership positions. Yep, Mimi?
I just remembered I just remembered what I was gonna say. The thing that, one of the things that made us drag last time is getting the numbers of people in each school. And we
Yes.
couldn't seem to get the numbers of each people, of all the people in each school, so that we knew how many people we needed. And so it's a little bit of work like that. Matt has something.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I was just looking back through my emails because that triggered the memory. I was trying to reach out through Jennifer Little and some other people to get those counts. And you're right, it did take a while to get that. I still have the documents there, and I'd be happy to share those if it gets us a head start. to getting the
Yes, thank you,
calculations
Matt.
now.
Oh, thanks, Matt. That's awesome.
Yeah, share that with, Mimi and I and Liz. That'd be great.
Will do.
Any questions about elections? Any questions about? We just want to make sure we're on target for doing those. Hopefully, those of you who are serving will continue or will consider, if you're at the end of your term, continuing. If you know anybody in your school that you think would be good, encourage them to participate. We want to keep this going, obviously, as a tool for making the college better for our students as well as for faculty. All right. Any other new business that anybody would like to bring up this month?
I'm going to share the attendance sign in one last time in the chat. So if you didn't get a chance to sign in, please do so.
All right, last call. All right, well, again, thank you for everyone's time and attention today. I hope nobody's too disappointed in having a shorter meeting today. I know I might be speaking for many of us, and so we've got so a lot of balls in the air to get ready for the beginning of classes on Monday. So I wish everyone a successful beginning of the January or the spring 2024 semester. And we'll see you in February. In February, just kind of as a preview, we're going to have, and I'm trying to, Joshua, I think it's his Friesen. He's going to, we're going to have a speaker who's going to talk about the college's rebrand. So I think that will be interesting. So that'll be our February speaker coming up next month. All right. All right. With that, we'll gavel to the close.
Thank you.
And y'all have a good good weekend.
You too, John.
Thanks. Bye.